first Malaysian man to test positive for coronavirus. 147 individuals from Hubei barred from entering Malaysia. Good to have you with us here on News on 2. I'm Brenda Lipol. Now we start the news with our top story. A 41-year-old man from Selangor has become the first Malaysian tested positive for coronavirus 2019 and COVID. Now this was announced by Health Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad in a press conference today.
Pesakit merupakan seorang lelaki warga negara Malaysia. Berumur 41 tahun dari Selangor. Cuba dengar baik-baik, ya. Di sini, ya. Mempunyai sejarah perjalanan ke negara jiran dari 16 hingga 23 Januari 2020 bagi menghadiri mesyuarat yang turut dihadiri oleh beberapa delegasi antarabangsa termasuk negara China.
Disclosing this to the media today, Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli said on the 29th of January, the man had sought medical treatment for fever and cough from a private medical facility in Selangor. He was then placed in an isolation ward at Hospital Sungai Buloh and tested positive for 2019 and COVID yesterday. The man is presently in a stable condition and all his family members are being monitored. Contact tracing procedures have also commenced. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli announced a second new 2019 nCoV case, a 63-year-old man hailing from Wuhan, China. Now he is being treated in an isolation ward at Hospital Kuala Lumpur. This brings the total number of 2019 nCoV cases in Malaysia to 10, 9 Chinese nationals and 1 Malaysian. Meanwhile, all 133 Malaysian nationals comprising Malaysians and non-citizens and also their spouses and children brought back in a special Air Asia flight from Wuhan, China this morning have been screened and also decontaminated. A media statement from the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA, said 2 out of the 107 Malaysians who were brought back did not pass through the health screening and were sent to Kuala Lumpur Hospital, while the remaining 105 who were cleared of any symptoms were ferried by bus to the monitoring centre and will be subject to screening twice daily for the next 14 days. They will be allowed to return home once the quarantine period is over. A total of 147 refusal of entry notices have been issued by the Immigration Department to individuals coming from Wuhan and Hubei Province, China, between the 27th January and the 3rd of February. Now, the action is in accordance with the Health Ministry's directive in managing and containing the spread of novel coronavirus outbreak. Home Affairs Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said 65 individuals were stopped at Port Klang, 30 people at the Sultan Abu Bakar complex in Gelang Patah and 14 at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport too. He said thus far, there is no need to impose temporary ban on all Chinese visitors except for those from Wuhan and Hubei province, adding that such travel ban would only be implemented on the advice of the Health Ministry.
Kami di peringkat Jabatan Immigration di bawah KDN berpandu kepada keputusan yang dibuat oleh pihak Kementerian Kesihatan. Jadi hanya bila Kementerian Kesihatan mengata perlu kita kontrol, maka kita gunakan kuasa Akta Immigration untuk mengenakan sekatan macam kes yang telah kita putuskan iaitu dari Wuhan dan Hubei. Jadi setakat hari ini dia masih kekal. Sehingga ada isyarat daripada Kementerian Kesihatan ini agak tahapnya sudah dianggap lebih berbahaya, maka barulah itu.
The minister was met after visiting the Customs, Immigration and Quarantine Complex CIQ at the Sultan Iskandar building in Johor Bahru. He also said that additional thermal scanners must be installed at the CIQ because about 70% of all visitors coming to Malaysia pass through the complex. Now, the public have been reminded not to engage in panic purchasing of face masks amidst the dwindling supply of the item due to the novel coronavirus. Now, Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Datuk Seri Saifuddin Nasution said such action would cause uneasiness and tension among the people. Speaking after the launch of an intellectual property sub-regional meeting in Kuala Lumpur, Datuk Seri Saifuddin said the rising fear among the public over the coronavirus led to a high demand for surgical face masks and hand sanitizers since last month.
Quality services offered by Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri.
Keperluan topeng muka sebenarnya lebih banyak kepada surgical mask dan topeng industri. Ya, ini hampir 90% daripada bekalan topeng dalam negara ini adalah untuk ini. Kita telah meminta supaya pertama pengimport untuk meningkatkan tempahan import mereka, pengeluar tempatan meningkatkan pengeluaran mereka.
The minister also reminded retailers not to hike prices of the item as it is under the Price Control and Anti-Profiteering Act 2011. He said the ministry has taken stern action against 2 errant retailers. Now, Malaysia and Pakistan today signed a treaty on extradition to reinforce the positive momentum in the bilateral relations by enhancing cooperation and security in combating transnational crimes. Now, Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said the treaty, which was signed in Putrajaya in conjunction with Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan's visit to Malaysia, could be applied to terrorists and criminals.
Obviously, if any criminal having committed some crime in Malaysia tries to hide in other countries, through an extradition treaty, we can get the country concerned to help us arrest the person concerned. So it may be terrorists, it may be criminals, ordinary criminals, or anybody at all who has done something wrong in Malaysia and seeks refuge in Pakistan.
Imran, meanwhile, said there was a wanted Pakistani criminal in Malaysia involved in murder who was extradited from Malaysia even before the treaty was established. Stressing that Imran's working visit reaffirmed both countries' commitment to strengthen partnership in their best interests. Tun Dr. Mahathir said both countries agreed to encourage more exchanges of visits at all levels for a firm foundation to set the future direction of their bilateral relations. Now, on another note, Imran Khan said he is looking forward to attending the next KL summit and expressed sadness for having missed the inaugural conference in December last year. Explaining his absence at the maiden meeting, Imran Khan said some friends had felt that the conference will divide the Muslim Ummah.
I want to say how sad I was that I could not attend the conference in Kuala Lumpur in the middle of December. And unfortunately, our friends who are very close to Pakistan as well felt that somehow the conference was going to divide the Ummah. And it was clearly a misconception because that was not the purpose of the conference.
It was reported that Islamabad had pulled out of the KL summit at the last moment when Saudi Arabia and other Arab nations voiced their reservations over the gathering of leaders from host Malaysia, Turkey, Iran and Qatar. Saudi Arabia viewed the summit as efforts by certain Muslim countries to create a new Islamic bloc. However, Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad had dismissed such reports. Health Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad has advised the public not to rely too much on alternative forms of medication. Instead, he urged patients to meet doctors and use evidence-based treatment for ailments like cancer.
Go!
Speaking at the launch of the 2020 World Cancer Day campaign at KL Central, Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli said the Malaysian National Cancer Registry Report 2012 to 2016 indicated that 60% of cancer cases are detected late, usually in stage 3 or stage 4. In many of these instances, the minister said patients sought faith healers as their first treatment choice after being diagnosed, seeking only medical attention after such methods failed to produce results.
Major causes of death in Malaysia. Sebabnya mengapa pendidikan dan pencerahan dan penjelasan khususnya daripada WHECC, pendidikan perubatan adalah sangat penting, dan semua ini tidak hanya bergantung kepada KKM, tetapi ia memerlukan whole of society approach. Semua mesti digemblengkan, tenaga seluruhnya, whole of government satu, whole of society's approach.
He also urged those suffering from cancer at any stage to consider the efficacy of treatments based on evidence-based outcomes. Coming up next, Pakistan steps in to help Malaysia in palm oil war with India. Welcome back. Now, the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, MITI, is closely monitoring the development of the novel coronavirus outbreak within countries that are Malaysia's trading partners and have trade activities with China. Nevertheless, Deputy Minister Dr. Ong Kian Ming said Malaysia need not be overly worried about the ongoing outbreak, adding that it is not too late, or rather too early, to estimate its impact on trade and investment activities.
No doubt there will be some disruptions in China's supply chain and also the global supply chain as a result of this virus, which may prevent manufacturing activities from taking place in China. But we don't know exactly what negative effect it will have.
Speaking to reporters after announcing Malaysia's trade performance for 2019 today, Dr. Ong said he hoped that the next 2 weeks would provide more certainty on the extent of the coronavirus problem. Taking the severe acute respiratory syndrome (SARS) epidemic in 2003 as a reference, Dr. Ong anticipated that China would undergo an economic slowdown in the first quarter of the year. Pakistan is ready to import more palm oil from Malaysia, which is seeking other markets following controls imposed by India on refined palm oil imports. Now, Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said the sale of palm oil was discussed by him and Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan during their bilateral meeting today in Putrajaya.
Sale of palm oil, of course, I think Pakistan is quite ready to import more palm oil from Malaysia.
That's right. We, especially since we noticed that India threatened Malaysia for supporting the Kashmir cause. They threatened Malaysia to cut their palm oil imports. Pakistan will do its best to compensate for that.
It was reported that India's Directorate General of Foreign Trade had announced restriction on the import of refined palm oil and palm olein, where importers would now be required to apply for licenses. The India import controls came after remarks by Tun Dr. Mahathir regarding India's actions on Kashmir and the new citizenship law last year. Earlier, Tun Dr. Mahathir held a 4-eye meeting with visiting Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan at Perdana Putra in Putrajaya. The Pakistan Premier arrived in Malaysia in a special aircraft last night for a 2-day working visit. Wisma Putra had said in a statement earlier that the two leaders were expected to discuss various issues of common concern and the country's enduring bilateral relationship. Following the meeting today, both the leaders also had a discussion with the high-level delegation of Pakistan. The leaders then witnessed the signing of extradition agreement between the both countries. This is the former cricket star's second visit to Malaysia after taking office in August 2018. It is noted that total trade between Malaysia and Pakistan stood at 5.91 billion ringgit in 2018, an increase of 2.5% compared to 5.76 billion ringgit in 2017. Now, the government will hold a discussion with the Johor state government and Plus Malaysia Berhad on the proposal to construct a covered walkway at the Johor causeway. Now, Home Affairs Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said the discussion, among others, would touch on the allocation to fund the construction, which is estimated at 30 million ringgit. Tan Sri Muhyiddin, who is also chairman of the Special Committee on Congestion at the Johor Causeway, said the construction of the covered walkway would be expedited as the facility is meant to alleviate traffic congestion at the causeway.
Saya sebutkan tadi kita nak mulakan rundingan untuk menentukan siapa yang dapat membantu membiayai. Pasal ini belum ada dalam bajet yang disebutkan 85 juta tu. Jadi, tapi saya kira agak ada baik supaya projek penjalan kaki itu pun kita bina awal.
The minister was met after visiting the Customs, Immigration and Quarantine Complex (CIQ) at Sultan Iskandar Building in Johor Bahru. He added that 85 million ringgit has been allocated for the upgrading works in the CIQ complex, which is expected to be completed within a year. The ministry, he said, would look at what needs to be improved, including the lighting system, security and other facilities. Now that concludes this evening's news on 2. Now in our top story, we understand the outbreak in China. Till then, I'm Brendan Lepal. Stay tuned to TV2 and have a pleasant evening.